Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. I'm Kelly Metro Collins with the Diocese of Des Moines. On today's show, we're talking about living as a young Catholic single person in today's secular world. Our guests today are young Catholics Alli Haag and Josh Danilson, who are members of the Young Catholics of Des Moines group. Before we get today's interview, let's find out what's on the Bishop's mind.
Good morning, Kelly.
Good
and
morning.
We're kind of cresting almost here halfway through Lent, you
Right.
know, and the Laetare Sunday, and kind of marks that point of joy that we're moving ever closer to the resurrection. If people are kind of still now looking for things, Kelly, where would they go for that?
Right. Yeah, the Diocese of Des Moines has a whole bunch of resources on their website. You can go to the homepage or go to dmdiocese.org/Lent. For everyone in the family, they have a 4-page how-to guide. There's different conversations and reflections for the family, a Lenten plan, feast days that are celebrated within Lent. Of course, we already had a few of them celebrated already, but some recipes, and of course they have a Pinterest page as well. So that's activity.
What is this Pinterest?
I figured you might ask that.
But we're grateful to Christy Quinlan and the whole team that's put that together. And we're getting shout-outs from people all over, all around the country who are saying, "This is, and I would put this up against any other website for Lent, and any major archdiocese or anything."
That's good news.
So we're good. So we're blessed to have people with such great faith, but great creativity and spiritual depth. So thankful for that. Well, today, the Feast of the Annunciation, so that announcement of the Gabriel to Mary and her own receptivity to life, who was the Son of God. This is also International Day for Unborn Children, and so we're kind of conscious of all the ways in which we can be advocates for life and supporters for parents, and especially moms. And one of the initiatives that we were about, as I even met with Bishop Zinkula and some of our legislators here in Iowa, is the bill that is being considered by the Iowa Senate, More Options for Maternal Support, legislation that will not just simply look for the unborn, but all those different real needs that women have, and so provide access to quality prenatal and postpartum care, all sorts of other kind of resources and services, the basics, cribs, clothing, formula, diapers, safety devices like car seats, counseling, referral, and care coordination services, housing and employment assistance up to a year after birth, as well as classes in education, so that they can be the parents that God needs them to be for their children. So I don't know how anyone could be opposed to this, and the funding is minimal. It's $2 million the first year, but that'll go a long way, I think, to creating a child-friendly culture here in that. We know the plight, in contrast, the stark plight of the families and moms in Ukraine, those who are so fleeing, trying to protect their young ones, and that disposition of the Polish people who've really stepped up in all of this. I think, even leaving strollers available for them at train stations and bus stops, just a kind of a symbolic openness to receiving and blessing. Right. And so, the Polish people have had, some of their own challenges over the past decades, but they know what it is to be under the threat of an oppressive and evil tyrant who, is bent on destruction and seizing, their lives, their livelihood. Ukraine was actually, back in March 8th, we know we celebrate the Day of Women in the United States and around the world. In Ukraine, it's actually a national holiday and a day off from work, for that. So that'll probably come in our country eventually, where women will get the day off and guys have to, But Father Krawiec was kind of talking as a Polish Dominican, the ways in which kind of offering tulips. So isn't the Tulip Festival coming around soon?
That is. It is. I don't know the exact, maybe these guys know the exact date, but it is coming up, yes.
Yeah, so I was at meetings at the USCCB, Committee on Catholic Education, right when it was cherry blossom time, and so a beautiful scene there on the memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and all that's else. But we want to continue to bring roses and flowers and be receptive in the ways that, even those crisis pregnancy resource centers that we have, and we have over 40 of them in the state of Iowa, but, even someone like Marquise Copeland, the defensive lineman for the Los Angeles Rams, his own mother was poised to abort him before he saw the light of day, but the pressure that she came, and so she went to a maternity home in Ohio, and so Marquise Copeland is able to do his craft on the gridiron because others made it possible for his mom to support the child.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll welcome Alli Haag and Josh Danilson. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen.
This is Dale Ahlquist with a Chesterton Minute. Have you ever heard someone say, I accept some of the things the church teaches, but I could never embrace the entire creed because there are some things in it that I just don't have any use for. G.K. Chesterton says, you might as well say that there's a great many things in the Encyclopedia Britannica that you don't have any use for. The church, like the Encyclopedia, is meant for everybody, and not just for you. It is meant for everybody, which just happens to include you. The Catholic Church is a combination of things that are nevertheless one thing. We cannot accept only part of it without rejecting all of it. Want more than a minute? Visit our website at www.chesterton.org.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. I'm Kelly Mesher-Collins with the Diocese of Des Moines. On today's show, we're talking about life as a young Catholic single person in today's secular world. Our guests today are young Catholics Alli Haag and Josh Danilson, who are members of the Young Catholics of Des Moines Singles Group.
Well, thank you, Kelly. And, you were a young Catholic once, right?
Yes, I
still
was.
Kind of on the cusp of that. But pleased to meet Alli and Josh. I think we've had a facial encounter before, Alli. But
thank you.
Great to have you. And just kind of on this Making It Personal show, just to hear a little bit more about you. Maybe ladies first, Alli, if you just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Urbandale, just right here in the Des Moines. And I am the oldest of 3 sisters, one of which actually just had a baby yesterday.
Congratulations.
So exciting.
And Alli.
Yeah, that's
right.
me.
Yeah.
That's the name I'm going with. Or whatever he calls me. Anyway, so obviously I went to St. Pius School, K through 8. Having a Catholic education was very important to my parents. And just kind of being surrounded by other like-minded kids growing up and learning about the Catholic faith. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah. Josh, welcome.
All right. Yeah. So I am also a cradle Catholic, and I was born in Des Moines, lived here for a few years. My family moved to Delaware on the East Coast for a few years for my dad's job. And then back in 2000, we moved back to Iowa. Lived here for another 13 years until I joined the Navy in 2013.
Oh, exciting. It's amazing how many Iowans join the Navy, that call of the high seas, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're not on the coast, you want to get on the water, so I think that makes sense.
Was that really the draw? Was there a kind of romantic side to it?
Part of it, I think. And for me, I was looking for an opportunity to, at that point, go back to school and preferably not get shot at. So I ended up joining the submarines force, and I was on there for about 3 years.
What kind of sub were you on?
It's called.
That's not classified information.
No.
Okay.
It's called a guided missile submarine, an SSGM. So there's essentially 3 different types of submarines. One's bigger than the other, and this is one of the bigger ones. And then of the 2 bigger ones, one has nuclear missiles on them, and the other one has Tomahawks. Mm-hmm. The one I was on has Tomahawks.
Okay.
So they're cruise missiles, if you don't know what those are. So yeah, it was nice because it was bigger, but they still find a way to cramp the space. So I picked submarines because I'm not a very tall person, so I didn't think the small spaces would bother me. But it still wasn't comfortable.
There's a priest in the Archdiocese of Dubuque, Father Mark Murphy, who was on subs, but he's taller than I am. I think he comes in about 6'3", so I wonder how that worked out for him. So.
There are tall people on submarines, but they usually end up being the nuclear engineers because there's a lot more room back there.
Okay.
There's very few tall people up forward. That's just the way it ends up working out.
Okay.
But no, that was a really good experience.
And is this kind of taking a hiatus from your faith, or how did that go?
Well, I was pretty active and strong in my faith up until maybe I was about 16. Mm-hmm. And then I started, as most teenagers do, question. And I did a lot of reading about different things. And unfortunately, at the time, I didn't have anybody that was a good mentor to give me the other side. Mm-hmm. So I read a lot of books from the atheistic perspective. Mm-hmm. And I studied philosophy in college the first time. I went to college at University of Iowa in 2008. Mm-hmm. And I found that fascinating. And I essentially, though, unfortunately fell away from the faith for about 15 years. Mm-hmm. And then God brought me back
kind of agnostic at the time, and was it kind of an intellectual posture in your life?
So,
it wasn't because there was a life crisis or some kind of existential...
If you ask my mom, it could be a life crisis. My cousin died when she was 30 back in 2006, and I took that really hard.
Okay.
And that's when I started doubting. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And then, so I was kind of atheist agnostic for a while. And then, long story short, I got married shortly after getting out of the Navy, and was divorced in September 2020. And that was God's wake-up call. And a couple months after that, I started getting involved in the church a lot more. And I dove into all sorts of different organizations to really learn a lot more about the faith.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry you're experiencing divorce and the trauma that brings, for lives and families and all that's there. But did that make you angry at God at the time, or?
No, I think I was just mostly angry at myself, just for the way things worked out. But thankfully, I've been through the annulment process, and that was really helpful and healing for me. So that just concluded the end of January, and I just got the official decree in the mail yesterday.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, I don't know if one says congratulations, but I'm happy for you, and that's an answer to prayer, no doubt.
It is.
Because most of our families, including my own, been touched by divorce, and to know that seeking that clarity from the church, a kind of pastoral remedy in accord with the Scriptures. So I'm glad for that. So, and I just have to say, philosophy doesn't automatically lead one to become an atheist,
that's true.
right? No,
that's very true.
So seminarians are not.
You just need to have someone to give you the other side.
The mentor, right?
Right. So if I had anybody that knew anything about theological philosophy, I probably wouldn't have fallen as far as I did. But there was nobody in my life that did that. So now I've learned a lot more about how theology and philosophy interact, and it makes a lot more sense.
Sounds like you've been hanging out with Dr. Bud Marr or Bo Bonner or Father P.J. McManus. Those guys, they're the great apologists. So, Alli, was a similar path for you, where kind of straight shot on the faith, or was there a kind of windy path at some certain point?
Slightly more linear, I would say. I guess I went to Dowling, so that 12 years of Catholic education, and then went off to UNI, which was my first, public school. And it was a different environment being in a school where faith is not like a core value of the curriculum. So you have to learn to go and actually seek out those opportunities and really prioritize your faith. Because if you don't do that, nobody else is going to do that. It's not like, hey, we're having this mass and this, everybody is going to be there from on campus, and you're around a lot of like-minded people still. It's you're kind of finding your own way, and like Josh was saying, you're kind of doubting some things or learning more about things, and just really making it your own. And so
because even though our state schools all have vibrant Newman centers and parishes, and St. Stephen's at UNI, they don't snatch you off the street and say, here, right?
It's not quite how it works.
You have the freedom of the children of God, whether to cross the threshold or not.
Yeah. And I was not super active at St. Stephen the Witness over at UNI, but I knew it was there. I knew people who went there. I would be in the music ministry. That's something I've done a lot of growing up. We were actually called the Von Haag Family Singers. So it was Father Joe used to call us that, and we liked him. So I'd kind of get involved a little bit when I had time. I also double majored, so didn't have a lot of extra time, but I found the time that I did prioritize. I'm going to stop by the chapel and just sit there between classes for a little bit, or there's this busy person's retreat. This is calling my name. I should probably sign up for this. Those were all very rewarding and kind of grounding things that centered me in kind of the craziness that is college. So, I definitely valued when I did make time for it. I should have made more time for it, but I did what I could.
So yeah, I mean, our parochial schools are not Catholic ghettos, but it is, a kind of safe place, isn't it? It is a safe place. Hopefully, not
ideally,
inimical to the faith there,
right.
but the people can stretch and things. Josh, so here you are. You found yourself back in the parish, and by the way, you were at that point on the East Coast in Florida, or where were you?
Yeah, so I was stationed in Kings Bay, Georgia, and once I got out of the Navy, I moved with my then-girlfriend to Jacksonville, Florida, and just started worked in an IT job for a while, and once I came back to the faith, I was just really lost. I didn't know how to get started. So that whole process started with a penance service at the church that was around the corner from my apartment. Mm-hmm. And I went to confession for the first time in like 15 years. And that was a very, very powerful experience. And from there, I was just kind of on a journey of like self-improvement.
Okay, so you kind of can relate to the prodigal son story. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think all of us should be,
Yes.
Whatever our story, but yeah.
So from there I was just looking like what's the next step, and I wanted to change the type of people I hung out with. And I started with the Knights of Columbus chapter at Resurrection Catholic Church in Jacksonville, Florida. Mm-hmm. Realized I was the youngest person there by like 50 years. And it wasn't really a great place to make friends. It was kind of a networking thing and just a place to volunteer.
You're like with your dad and grandpa.
Pretty much, yeah.
Who are fine people, but
yes,
nonetheless.
One of those gentlemen put me in touch with a girl named Kate, who was the president of Catholic Dolphins, which was the college I went to, is Jacksonville University, because I had resumed going back to college in 2017 at JU, and got coffee with her. She told me about the group, and then I started going to those events and just dove in head first and went to like everything they ever did, and I started reading a bunch of books, going on retreats, and it was amazing. Even you mentioned that it's an Annunciation, or the Feast of Annunciation, and how that has to do with the unborn. One of the things that we did is we witnessed in front of an abortion clinic down the street from where I lived, and we would just stand there with like supportive signs for women and pray the rosary.
Mm-hmm. Not heckling them or
nothing like
showing
that.
Photos of aborted babies or anything.
Nothing aggressive like that. It was just trying to pray that God would intervene, and every once in a while he did and saved a child's life, and that was always beautiful to witness. And even some people there were like trained to interact with the women as they were walking in, but you like had to be trained to do that.
Right.
But this was something,
all the goodwill in the world. We have to have savvy too and professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that was really powerful. And I would say.
You mentioned a girlfriend. Was she coming? Is she part of that, or was she out of the picture by then?
No. So I came back to the faith after my divorce.
Okay. All right.
So,
all right. Okay.
I had no longer had contact with her, but
okay.
It was great. Like I've learned more about the faith in the last little over a year than I had known in the previous 30. Even like when I was younger,
yeah.
Right? Might go to Catholic school most of my life, but you only learn so much when you're that young.
Yeah, no, there's the appointed time, and I think the questions as one has life experience and setbacks and other things, then the whole Paschal mystery unfolds that, and if we can connect with that. Alli, you went the other direction. You were out in the Pacific Northwest.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's beautiful up there. Yeah, So I spent my last semester at UNI in South Africa, actually, and then kind of got this travel bug, like, I need to go and see the world, and I need to get out of Iowa. So after I graduated, I took an AmeriCorps position up in Seattle, working with the Washington Youth Soccer Organization, and just ran an after-school soccer program for at-risk youth in southern Seattle, which was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. But I got to use my degree, which doesn't always happen. So, right? So I lived there for 2 years.
And had you been a soccer player at Dowling Catholic, or?
Kind of. They needed
Others
a goalie.
Would say that about you.
No, I did a bunch of stuff at Dowling. So, soccer was I had kind of grown up playing. But I never coached or managed a whole program before, so definitely a learning experience, and definitely made the use of being in a much bigger city, like almost at least twice the size of Des Moines, where I grew up. So, had a lot of great resources up there and learned a lot.
Tremendous. So, and Seattle, I mean, that's a very diverse group, and somewhat pagan in some areas. but the archdiocese there, Archbishop Peter Sarton gave us our retreat, former Archbishop for the Region 9 bishops, and talked a little bit about the Church of Seattle. So there is a robust presence. Did you automatically find young adults, or did you have to really kind of seek them out?
No, that was one I definitely I don't actually think many of my good friends would go to church at all, actually. So it was very isolating to, nobody I would interact with, I would feel safe, or not safe, but just, comfortable sharing a faith. I'd try to. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to Mass, and that's about as, the extent of what I would do. But I also didn't actively go and seek Catholic specifically. I was just kind of open to, here's a different part of the world. I want to expose myself to as many cultures and learn about as many type of people as possible. So that's also kind of on me. It would have been helpful.
But that's a Catholic attitude, that the world is, a place of awe and wonder and mystery, and we want to engage it. So, but
right.
We don't, again, insulate ourselves.
Yeah.
But this is the challenge, right, for young adults after college, in particular, or whatever profession. You can feel like lone rangers out there, and if you're not married or with a family or child, going through sacramental preparation, things like that, and that's really why our strategic visioning, we many surveys, many focus groups rolling from the fall here into the spring. All groups, whether Anglo, Hispanic, whatever, all are saying that youth and young adults are our greatest priority. And so I think it's up to us to translate that into something that's very meaningful. So this has been kind of a long wind-up to get to the point to talk about the Young Catholics of Des Moines group. So, I think we're going to take a break here in a moment, but both of you are members in there. You found your way back to Des Moines. We're so happy you're back in our diocese and can be witnesses as well. But we'll kind of maybe look for some insight into the activities that you've been involved in and how this kind of is a good fit for you.
We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll visit with Alli Haag and Josh Danilson. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by the Sarah Vocations Ministry, including the St. Sarah Club of Des Moines and the Sarah Club of Council Bluffs. Sarah is an apostolate of the Worldwide Catholic Church dedicated to fostering and supporting priesthood and religious vocations. Sarahans strive to accomplish their mission through prayer, fellowship, and service to the bishop, priests, sisters, and all in religious formation, and in doing so to increase their own holiness. Learn more at joinsarah.org, joinserra.org. Thank you, Sarahans, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Are you born again? Is faith alone enough? Get answers to these and other crucial questions as Iowa Catholic Radio presents Catholic convert and apologist Steve Ray with his compelling talk, Born Again? Faith Alone? What Must I Do to Be Saved? Thursday, April 7th at St. Francis of Assisi in West Des Moines. Steve takes you on a biblical journey all the way back to Abraham. Don't miss Steve Ray. Thursday, April 7th, 6 p.m., St. Francis of Assisi Parish. Visit iowacatholicradio.com to register.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. We are here with Alli Haag and Josh Danilson to talk about the Young Catholics of Des Moines Singles Group.
So we finally get to what was kind of our theme today here, but as we have a few minutes to really focus in, what is this all about, Josh? What the Young Catholics Singles?
The Young Catholics of Des Moines, the Singles Group, is essentially a way for people that are young adults and Catholics in the Des Moines Diocese that aren't married to get together.
They might be divorced. They might not.
They might be, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
To just get together and have a safe social environment where they don't feel like outcasts because they're not married. So we do lots of different events. There's one event a month, and it's usually toward the end of the month. We try to do different things to keep things fresh and interesting. It's not necessarily where you go there to meet someone, but if you do, it's great. But so don't feel like if you do want to come to one of our events that there's a whole lot of pressure to date somebody. If you meet someone, that's awesome, but you don't feel like you have to.
This is not speed spiritual dating. Then.
No.
Okay, all right.
But I mean, that's what it was for me for the first couple events, because I was still waiting on my annulment to finalize. I didn't want to lead anybody on. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to kind of get to know some people since I just moved back here. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we do lots of interesting events. We have an event in March that's coming up in a couple weeks. We're still kind of figuring out the details of that one. And then on April 28th, we're doing a Mass and Mixer, a weeknight Mass at Christ the King, and then a taco bar dinner there.
So that's next Monday night here. We're the 25th and on the 28th, March 28th.
No, the Mass and Mixer is on April 28th.
April 28th, okay.
And the service event, or we might do something at Grays Lake here, will happen probably in a couple weeks. We just don't know the details yet.
Okay.
But if you want the details, go find the Young Catholics of the Diocese of Des Moines Facebook group, and that's where we post everything.
All right. So say that one more time, Young Catholics.
The Young Catholics of the Diocese of Des Moines Facebook group.
All right. And Alli, are you part of the leadership of the group, or are you
I'm not, but I'm pretty good friends with the leader. So Joanna, she's awesome.
Okay. All right. And how long have you been affiliated with them?
I've been there since day one. I was actually I helped come up with a few of the events that ended up happening, helped Joanna set things up a little bit. It started last June, and I've been at most of the events, minus like 2 of them. Yeah, I think the bonfire one was a lot of fun. They had a Halloween party, adoration and ice cream social at St. Augustine. So there's a good variety of events that they put on. It's not just, all right, we're going to go here and talk to people and eat pizza. There's a good variety.
And have lofty theological conversations.
If we get there, yeah.
That may emerge.
Maybe, yeah.
And is there some prayer together sometimes, or not necessarily? It's more social, I'm hearing.
It's more heavily social, aside from like the adoration part of that one event.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And so, by participating, by coming, walking into a group of strangers, I mean, how does one kind of show up? And
yeah, I think you just have to be willing, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like, you're not, the growth happens right outside your comfort zone. If you never put yourself there, you're not going to grow. So even if you don't know anybody, it's a very welcoming group. And you meet a lot of really great people. And there's new people at each event. Like, they've gotten 3 to 4 new people each event. So you see a lot of the same people, but also there's new people that you're interacting with. And yeah, a lot of them are really cool. Like, I met Josh here, so he's pretty cool.
All right. Feel the love, man. Okay, good. Time is winding down, but in my confirmation homilies, I kind of talked about the virus of the age not being COVID, but loneliness. Mm-hmm. And is that something that you kind of address as a theme, or just kind of folds into the background?
I would say it's something that we battle against, just by encouraging community, encouraging everybody to participate no matter what you're there for. So everything that we do is a social event that everybody can participate in. Mm-hmm. So loneliness is definitely something that we as young adults that aren't married struggle with. But this is a way to kind of get social with people that share your faith, to try to battle some of that.
And if it calls people out, this is our restless hearts leading us to communion, and so that's a healthy sign to experience some of those pangs of loneliness as it propels us to be with. So thank you for being with us on this show, Alli and Josh. It's been a great grace to have you.
This has been another edition of Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen.
You can hear Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen every week on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.